Just like to offer a big shout out to Touchdown Digital, the sponsor of this week's video. Well, hello everybody, welcome to Sniper Photography. I'm your host Glenn Samuel. Today this is part 2 of the equipment you can use for macro and close-up photography. If you were lucky enough to see part 1, thanks for watching it and glad to see you back here today for part 2. If you haven't seen part 1, I'll put the link to that somewhere up here. Now today in part 2 we're using this type of equipment now, so we've gone up a level from the basic entry kit, a lens and a crop sensor body to something like this, so it's the next stage. Basically today, as in part 1 and there's also part 3 in the next few days, I'll be speaking to you about what gear you can use to do this type of photography. And this style of photography is absolutely fantastic. Predominantly I shoot landscapes, but it's very, very handy to have some other interest, some other genre of photography, because what it does, it gets your mind thinking, and this is a real challenge. You're looking at something that's very small, that's moving, or if you're photographing flowers, and I've been photographing flowers for some time, but I'm starting to really reignite my passion for flower photography, and in the next few weeks I'll be showing you some techniques with special lighting and things like that, so keep a lookout for that. But for today I'll be talking about this equipment, and it's, as I said, it's the next stage up from what I was talking about last week in part 1 of this 3-part series. So what I'll do, I'll go and try and find my first subject or subjects, and then before I do that I'll come back to you and talk about the gear that I'm currently using. And it's gear that you can also have if you've gone to that next level for your macro and close-up photography. Okay, so the gear that I'm using today is, as I said, I've taken this to the next level. And if you're started out with the gear that I used or showed you last week in part 1, and you feel like your skill level has come up a little bit, or you think you can do it, and you're thinking that you need probably not better equipment, but equipment that's built for the job. And today this is what I'm using. Now, people that have seen this channel before have actually seen me use this kit, but I'll explain to you what it is for people that haven't seen it. Basically, let's start with the camera. Last week in part 1 I used a crop sensor body. Now with this style of photography, don't think that you need the top end and the best camera available to you, because quite simply and frankly you don't. But today for this exercise I'm using one of my full frame Canon cameras, and the reason for that is because some people might own a full frame camera, or they still might use a Micro Four Thirds or a crop sensor body, so it doesn't matter. I'm just using this as an example for today's part 2. So that's the camera situation out of the way. What I've got here, lens-wise, is the Tamron 90mm f2.8, 90mm it is, fixed focal length, 1:1 macro lens. It's a dedicated macro lens, dedicated. Now, as in part 1, I used extension tubes with a 50mm lens, and that does the job. It's really good. But to go to the next rung of the ladder, to the next level, you're looking at a macro lens, and that's what this is here. Tamron 90mm f2.8 fixed focal length lens. It's a 1:1 macro lens. It's a dedicated macro lens, that's what it is. Now, you can't buy this model now. This has been superseded probably 3 or 4 times. So you can buy it used on the second-hand market, and that's what I suggest you do, because the new one of these is going to set you back over $1,000. You can pick up this particular lens, and I've owned this now for about 6 years. I actually brought it used off a guy. You can pick this up for around $280 to $300 in really good condition. And I suggest you do that if you're looking for a macro lens, because this Tamron lens is pin sharp. It's fantastic to use, it really is. But you can not only use it for macro and close-up photography, you can use it for landscape photography, can you believe it? Which I have done in the past. So that's the Tamron 90mm f2.8 1:1 dedicated macro lens. Now what's going on here? Well, flash-wise, this is a more powerful speed light. Last week's video, I was using the Yongnuo 560 Mark IV, which does the job really, really well. It has a fairly quick recycle time, but it runs on 4 AA batteries, which, you know, you can use Enelope batteries, which are very, very good, or Eneloop, I think that's the name. But in the end, you're still going to have to charge them or recharge them, because you don't get as many shots out of those batteries. But this particular Godox flash, this is the Godox 860, it is fantastic. It runs on a lithium NiCad battery, a real big battery, which is in there, right, it's like that. Now, this has a superb quick recycling time, and the reason why you want to know that is because with this style of photography, especially with macro, you could be focus stacking, you could take 20, 30, 40 shots in one go. So you need to have a speed light that will recycle real quick. Also too, it comes with high speed sync, where the Yongnuo flash that I was using last week doesn't have that capability. This one does. This has the high speed sync. I won't do high speed sync today. I'll talk to you about high speed sync. I'll do that in a separate video because it's quite interesting, especially when it comes to this style of photography, and also when you want to black out the blue sky, which you can do with high speed sync. But this speed light really is top notch. It doesn't get much better than this, except for the one next week that I'm going to show you. But for this style, fantastic. Now, what have we got here? This is the AK diffuser. This comes from the United States, and you can buy this online. It's tailor-made to your lens and speed light size. So it's not overly expensive, but it's not cheap either. But I'll talk about the pricing of all this gear at the end of this video. So this is what we're looking at today. We've gone up the ladder a bit, and this equipment is built for the job. It's designed for the job. But don't get me wrong, if you've watched the part 1 of this series, the gear that I use there still does the job. It's a good starter, put it that way. So what we'll do, I'll switch off here and I'll just walk around and see what I can find. But before I do that, this series isn't about technique of how to do this type of photography. It's what can be achieved with this type of equipment. I think next week I'll be talking about, well, I'll be showing you what I believe to be the best of the best when it comes to equipment for this style of photography. And then probably after that I might do a video about actually how to use the equipment and what to do and how to photograph some really fantastic objects. But this is a great way of doing things, just walking around. Oh, you might notice that I'm using a neck strap. Now, I don't like these. These things annoy the hell out of me. However, when you're using gear like this, it's fairly heavy, it's pretty bulky, and I can just go like that. So I'm hands-free. This is the only time that I'll use a neck strap. Whenever I brought a camera over the years, I throw them away. But I've kept this one because it's just so much easier. And another good thing too, when I'm photographing something, and you've got to keep in mind, the larger the magnification, the more movement is registered in your image. In other words, you could get blurry images. So what I like to do when I've got this, I pull it out like that, and I'm really pulling on my neck like this. You can see it like that. So that's making my camera and my hands very steady. So that's one good thing about using a neck strap with this style of photography. Otherwise I don't use them. I use a sling strap if I'm walking around or I'm on a tripod. So having said all that, I'll turn you guys off here and I'll walk around this magnificent location and see what I can find. I've found these leaves, and they're sort of like transparent, and I think I might take a shot of these things. Now, the benefit of this gear here is that, especially with this lens, is that I can get very, very close, and you will see what I mean by that when I photograph those transparent leaves. And it's a good idea to just have a look around and see what you got. Now I can hand hold this and we'll see how we go. I'll get very, very close. Now the thing with this is that when I was using the extension tubes last week, it's okay, I couldn't get as close because using the extension tubes with the 50mm lens, it wasn't true macro. You get very close, but you weren't that close. Where there, you could see how close I was about that far away. So yeah, they won't be world-beating shots because that's not the whole idea of this video. This is just to show you, by upscaling the gear to something like this, as to what you can achieve. So I'll keep looking around, just walking around. It's nice just walking around, watching and looking and noticing things. One thing about this style of photography, it doesn't matter what equipment you use, you can, it teaches you patience on how to do it. So I'll go back there and I'll take another shot. Okay, you wouldn't believe it, I found this real small snail. It's smaller than probably the fingernail on my little finger. I'm going to photograph him before he moves. You know, people think snails move slow. They don't. This thing's moving very, very quickly. Probably because he knows I'm going to take a photograph, I think. But you'll see how close I'll get by using this, this macro lens here. So as you can see, I'm right on him. Right on him now. Okay, so as you can see, I was millimeters away from him with that, and it just goes to show that by just looking around you can really find amazing things. I'll just have a look at that photo here, that image here, and yeah, look, I don't know whether you can see it or not, but probably not, but that's it there. But it just goes to show that, you know, by looking around and getting down low, you'll get some amazing shots. I want to find some more. Well, as you just seen then, how close I was photographing this minute snail. Just an incredible piece of nature. I was just walking along, and that's another thing too, when you're doing this type of stuff, you just take your time and stop walking, because eventually bugs and things will land. But it's just that I found this cluster of little snails eating the gardenias. I think the parks people here might have a bit of a problem on this patch of plants here, but very minute, very small, and I was able to do what I could with this equipment here. I got very, very close. I was probably 15 centimeters away from the snail, and you'll see the end results of what I'm achieving with this type of lens. Now, as I said, last week I used a 50mm with extension tubes, and they're very good. Don't get me wrong, they are very good. But if you want to elevate it to another level, well then you probably got to look at a macro lens, let's face it, and then maybe some sort of diffuser. You don't have to go as big as this, but this is a fantastic piece of kit to use. It's not light, it's quite heavy, but yeah, look, with this type of equipment you can achieve many things, some really great images, because you can get so close And last week when I was here, it was raining and I was doing this in between showers. But it's been a pretty good morning so far. I'll just keep walking around. But a little bit more about the gear first. Look, as I said, you don't need to go out and buy thousands and thousands of dollars worth of equipment. But because at the end of this video, I'll talk to you about the actual cost of what this setup will be. I won't include the camera because you already own the camera, you already got the camera. So, but basically, just walking around, really like handheld, really. There's no tripod here or anything like that. You can use a tripod for this style of photography, but at the end of the day, you just walk around. But when you're looking at things, and it's nice to know that you can get really, really close with something like this. As I said, I was over there with the snails, and the snails are probably the size of my little finger. And it just goes to show that you've got to be very, very observant the way you're doing it and just looking at things around you. So, I mean, you know, I'm just out in this beautiful park walking around with this gear. But yeah, look, just having a bit of fun. But I hope what you're getting out of this is that there's different levels of equipment that you can use and buy to get this to get the job done. So I'll keep looking around. I'm going to go over there. There's plenty to photograph here, and that's another thing too with this style of photography. You never run out of subjects. It's just incredible. Wherever I look, I see things that I wish to photograph. It could be plants, it could be leaves, translucent leaves, snails, flowers. The flowers haven't really come out yet, but they're starting to. So it's really exciting and it's really challenging too, and this is a good thing about it. So with this type of gear, you can get closer. Yes, it's going to cost you a bit more money, excuse me, but your level of photography will increase, there's no doubt, because of the magnification and the diffusion that you use with something like this. So I'm going to go over there and see what else I can find. Okay, here's some really lovely white gardenias. I love plants and I love photographing them. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to watch the garden bed here, and basically what I'll be doing, I'll be photographing right in the middle of the flower itself. So, and this is where this neck strap comes in handy. So you'll notice what I'm doing. I'm pulling back on the neck strap and I'm getting right in close. Do another one. Another one. Right. Yep, that's good. So by pulling that forward, it steadies the camera. So maybe a neck strap might be the alternative for you if you're trying to do this and you don't have a steady hand. You just pull back like that and pull your neck back and force the camera to keep still. Good way of doing it. And that turned out all right. Okay, let's talk about the cost of something like this. Well, basically, we won't worry about the camera body because you've already got that. Doesn't matter what camera body you use, you can use it, it'll do the job. It's more about the lens, the speed light and the diffuser with this particular outfit. Let's start with the lens. As I mentioned earlier at the beginning of this video, you can buy this particular macro lens from Tamron. It's a 90mm 1:1 macro lens, absolutely fantastic, and you'll see through, look at the images, you'll see at the images at the end of this video what I was talking about, how good it is, how pin sharp it is. You can pick this up on the used market for about $280 to about $310, maybe $320 for a really good condition, one that's in really good condition. It's been superseded probably 3 or 4 times now because it's coming up to about 8 years old, I think, this lens. But still fantastic optics. It's just brilliant to use as long as you get it to fit the mount of your camera. This is a Canon mount, so it's L or EFS mount, and for around about $300 you can pick this lens up. It's the Tamron 90mm macro 1:1 lens, dedicated macro lens. So there's about, say, $300 there. You're looking at the Speedlite. Now this Speedlite's more expensive than the last one in part one of this series. This retails for around about brand new, I'm talking. You're looking close to $300, probably $290 to probably $310. So automatically, and it's worth every cent, believe you me. It's high speed sync. It has a quick recycle time, bang, bang, bang. You get over 500 shots out of a full charge, which is just incredible, really. It's from a company called Godox. I use a lot of Godox equipment. It's really, really good. So around about $300 for the Speedlite. So automatically you're up around $600 just between the Speedlite and the lens. That's buying the lens used or second hand. Sure, you can go out and buy a brand new lens, but that'll cost you double the amount, which I don't suggest you do. There's no need to do that, really. You just don't need to do it. Now with the diffuser, this diffuser from AK Diffuser, it'll set you back about $220 delivered to Australia from the United States. The way you order this particular one is you get on the AK Diffuser website and you fill out what you're after. You let them know what camera and lens and Speedlite you use, and they will tailor make this diffuser for your particular kit, and then you pay for it. It's in US dollars. This cost me 210 Australian, and it arrived within 10 days at my front door. Brilliant service, and the follow-up is really, really good from this company, AK Diffuser. I'll put all the links to this gear down below in the description box. So automatically you're up around the $800 mark for the lens, the Speedlite and the diffuser. Now that's double, virtually double what you would spend if you had the gear that I used in part one of this series. And you probably think, well, is it worth it? Well, yes and no. It's worth it if you've gone to another level and you want to take your photography to another level. Well, then you look at something like this. Now, I think the results wise speak for themselves, but having said all that, your photography knowledge still has to be good, because you could have all the photographic knowledge in the world and have the best equipment that money could buy, but you struggle. You still take pretty ordinary shots, right? So if your skill level is up there, it really doesn't matter what equipment you use. So you're probably thinking, well, what's the idea of these 2 or 3 videos? Well, it's to show you what, with your level of experience and the level of the equipment that you use, what you can achieve. Now, you have to understand one thing, is that you need to know how to work with light, very same as all different genres of photography. You need to know how to handle light, you know how to look at colours, what colours complement other colours, leading lines, focusing is a big thing with this style of photography. Yeah, you just need to have the photographic knowledge to get the best out of this equipment. Otherwise you might just stay with the entry-level gear that I showed you in part one. So it's a matter of you making the decision and thinking about, well, am I skillful enough? Is my photography education that I have internally, will my photography benefit from having that knowledge and having equipment like this? That's the question only you can answer. You're the only one that can answer that question. But spending a bit more money and buying something like this, it does help. There is no doubt about that. Now, I've often said that gear doesn't matter. Well, it doesn't matter, such as the camera body for this photography, but where it does matter is the lens, the Speedlite and the diffuser. So it's a real fine line between the comment of, does gear matter or doesn't it? Well, in this instance, I think it does, because macro and close-up photography, you need to get close. And you can either use extension tubes with that nifty 50 like I did last week, and I'll put that video up here somewhere, or you can go down the path and spend a bit more money and get something like this. Now, I'll take a few more shots and I'll put them up for you to have a look at. But there's one thing you really must consider, and that is how often are you going to do this type of photography? Now for me, 90% of my photography is landscapes and seascape. I love that. That's what I love to do. The 10% is a mixture of this, close-up and macro photography and wildlife photography. So a free tip is to think about how much of this style of photography are you going to do, and does that make it viable for you to go out and spend $800 without the camera? You've also got to think of that. How often we'll be using this gear. I use it quite a lot. Financially, I'm able to buy it. Am I happy I've got it? Yes. But basically, it's up to you. Do you want to start out with the gear that I used in part 1 of this series? Or you want to move up because your skill level has also moved up to something like this? And to finish up here, all the gear that you're seeing in these 3 segments, or these 3-part video, I own. I've brought it all myself and out of my own pocket. Nobody's given it to me, and I use every piece of this kit. I use the whole lot. Sometimes I just want to whack on a couple of extension tubes, 50mm lens, and just go for it. Or I might walk around like this for more detailed stuff. Or, as you'll see in the next video, the system that I'll show you there is very scientific. Well, it's certainly scientific looking, put it that way, which you'll see very shortly with the Godox MF12s, and hence I said 12s. But that's coming up in the next episode of this 3-part series. So to finish up, look, basically, yes, it does help to have gear like this. Yes, it's going to cost you more money. Let's face that. But it's up to you whether you think that your skill level equates to something like this. Right? You've got to work it out. Do I spend the money and thinking that it'll help me with my photography? Probably not. But if you're skillful enough and you know what photography is all about, or thereabouts, then maybe this kit is probably right for you. Only you can decide. So that's it for another episode of Sniper Photography. That's part 2 done and dusted. Part 3 will be coming up very shortly. I really appreciate you watching these videos. For me, it's all about teaching, honest photography, what to look out for, what to photograph, and more importantly, not to waste money on equipment that you probably don't need. So having said all that, my name's Len Samuel. Thank you for watching. Please put your comments down below and I'll certainly get back to you. So as I always say, be nice to yourself, family and friends, but most of all, you keep shooting, keep smiling. Bye for now.